Okay, so get this right. Early predictions for Venom, The Last Dance. They're saying it could be huge, like really huge.
Huge how?
We're talking biggest opening weekend in the franchise, possibly even bigger than the first Venom.
Wow, seriously, how big are we talking?
Think somewhere between 80 to $120 million domestically just for the opening weekend.
Whoa. Now that you mention it, that's a pretty big jump from the last two.
Right. Venom was what, like 80 million for its opening?
Yep, 80 for the first one, and then Let There Be Carnage opened at 90.
See? Big difference. And that's kind of what's got me wondering, because don't get me wrong, I dig Venom, but has it felt super buzzy to you? For a big finale and all?
Yet, now that you mention it, it does feel like something's a little off.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me, but it doesn't feel like the hype matches up to these predictions.
Exactly. So that's what we're diving into today. We're going to try to figure this out.
All right, let's do it. Unravel the mystery of these box office numbers.
Right. So we've been taking a look at all the pre-release stuff, and a couple of things kind of jumped out.
Like what?
Well, first, there are all these marketing tie-ins, right? Pizza Hut's doing their thing, Wendy's, everyone's got that whole black goo Venom theme going on.
Ah, clever marketing. Gotta love it when they tie it into the character like that. Speaking of, did you see the black goo aioli someone made?
Okay, but actually, yeah, it's kind of fun, right? But then I noticed something else.
What's that?
Some of the artwork they're using looks familiar, like really familiar.
You think they're recycling stuff?
Maybe not all of it, but definitely some. And that just seems weird, right? For your big finale, wouldn't you go all out with the visuals?
Yeah, that is strange. For the peak of a franchise, you'd expect some fresh, exciting artwork. Recycling old stuff almost feels like, I don't know, maybe even Sony isn't that confident in the movie.
Well, and especially considering how well these movies have done for them. They might not be Oscar bait, but for Sony's Marvel Universe, Venom is basically their golden goose.
True, besides Spider-Man, of course.
Close, of course, but still. Point is, you'd think they'd be shouting about this one from the rooftops.
And let's not forget, Sony's had a bit of a rough go of it lately in the superhero department. Morbius definitely didn't set the world on fire. And Madam Web? Well, let's just say it wasn't the hit they were hoping for.
So basically, Venom, The Last Dance has a lot riding on it. The whole future of Sony's Marvel plans could be on the line here.
No pressure, Venom.
Right, so let's get back to those box office predictions. We're talking $250 to $300 million domestically. That's huge GE, even for a Marvel movie.
It's a big deal. And it makes you wonder, what's driving those numbers?
Exactly. What could possibly push it that high?
Well, there are a couple of factors at play here. For one, Tom Hardy. The guy's got a massive fan base.
Yeah.
And his performance as Eddie Brock, or should I say, Eddie Brock, Andy Venom, is a big draw.
Oh, absolutely. People love the whole, dysfunctional duo thing they've got going on. They're electric together on screen.
Exactly. And then there's the introduction of Knull.
Knull. Okay, for those of us who haven't quite made it deep into the Venom comics, who's Knull? Fill us in.
So in the comics, Knull is kind of a big deal, like a really big deal. He's the one who created all the symbiotes, including our boy Venom.
Whoa, so the origin of the species?
Exactly. So for the diehard comic fans, seeing Knull on the big screen is going to be huge GE.
It's like finally meeting the man behind the curtain. Or behind the symbiote, I guess.
Exactly. Plus, we can't forget about that little post-credit scene from Spider-Man No Way Home. Remember, little piece of the Venom symbiote gets left behind in the MCU.
Ooh, yeah. That's right. I'd almost forgotten about that.
Yeah, so that little tidbit has definitely got some fans speculating. Could this be a hint of things to come?
It's like they're dangling a little piece of Venom in front of the MCU just to get everyone's attention.
Exactly. And let's be honest, it's working.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That little piece of symbiote, it's like a breadcrumb trail right back to the MCU. And Marvel fans, they live for those breadcrumbs.
Speaking of breadcrumbs, you think maybe Sony's been dropping a few of their own?
What do you mean? Well, all these rumors about Venom showing up in Spider-Man 4, what if it's all just, strategic? To get everyone hyped for The Last Dance, even if
there's nothing to it.
Exactly.
It's not impossible. Studios love to play that game. Build up the anticipation, even if it means stretching the truth a little.
Right. But isn't that kind of risky? What happens if they promise this big Spider-Man team up and then it just doesn't happen?
Vote of gamble for sure.
Yeah.
Could backfire big time. On the one hand, yeah, you get people talking, you get them excited. But if the audience feels tricked, that can hurt a franchise in the long run.
That's true.
It all comes down to execution, doesn't it? If Venom, The Last Dance, delivers as a movie, maybe people won't mind as much if the Spider-Man stuff doesn't pan out. But if it feels like a bait and switch, oof, it's not good.
Yeah, especially with them calling it The Last Dance and everything. Like, it's the end of an era, but
Hollywood's Hollywood, right? If there's money to be made, they'll find a way.
always. Money talks, especially in the movie business. Look, the potential's there, right? A shared universe, even if it's a little messy, it's just too tempting to ignore.
Yeah.
Not with characters as big as Spider-Man and Venom.
Okay, but let's say, hypothetically, Sony IS using The Last Dance as a launch pad. What could that even look like?
Yeah.
What's the grand plan here?
Well, we know Sony's trying to build their own little corner of the Marvel universe, right?
Yeah.
They've got Venom. They took a swing with Morbius, Madam Web.
Right.
So maybe Venom, The Last Dance, if it's the hit they're hoping for, maybe it gives them the confidence to try again. But do it differently this time.
How do you mean? Like a whole team-up movie? The Sinister Six, maybe? Could be. Or, imagine this, right? Venom, unleashed in the Spider-Man universe. But this time, going up against other Spider-Man villains. Or even different versions of Spider-Man himself.
Okay, now that's an idea. See, now I'm getting excited. But, okay, crossovers, spin-offs, that's all well and good, but what about The Last Dance itself? From what I've seen in the trailers, looks like they're really diving into the whole symbiote mythology.
Well, absolutely. And this is where the introduction of Knull gets really interesting. See, in the comics, Knull's backstory, it's massive. He's like this ancient, godlike being tied to the creation of the symbiotes. It's heavy stuff.
Wow, okay. Didn't realize we were dealing with cosmic-level beings here.
Oh, yeah, it gets wild. But that's what's so exciting. This could add a whole new layer of complexity to Venom's origins, to his powers.
So it's not just about Venom fighting bad guys anymore. It's about, like, the bigger picture. Where did these symbiotes come from? What's their purpose? That kind of thing.
Right. And for fans who've been following Venom's story, this could be incredibly satisfying. Imagine seeing Venom confront his own origins, grappling with the idea that he's not just a parasite, but part of something ancient and powerful.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, he's finally understanding his place in all of this. But then you've also got Eddie Brock to consider. He's always had this push and pull thing going on with the symbiote.
Exactly. With Knull in the mix, Eddie might have to face some hard truths about himself, his connection to Venom, and what he's willing to do to survive.
So it's like Eddie's going through his own origin story, in a way.
Right. But instead of gaining powers, he's got to figure out how to handle the ones he's already got. And then, of course, there's the whole Spider-Man situation. What happens if Venom crosses paths with him again?
Oh, man. Don't even get me started. That's a whole other can of worms, right?
Seriously. We could have a whole other deep dive just on that.
We might have to. But for now, I mean, just think about the possibilities. Venom and Spider-Man, maybe they team up against Knull. Or maybe Knull's pulling the strings and they end up fighting each other.
Oh, man. My head's spinning just trying to imagine it.
Right. It's a lot. Okay, so let's try to sum this up. We've got box office expectations that are through the roof, marketing that's, well, it's a little all over the place, isn't it? And then the story itself feels like there are about 1 million different directions they could go.
And that's what makes it so exciting, right? Sony's taking a big swing with this one. They want a grand finale.
But they also want to set up something even bigger.
Exactly. It's ambitious, to say the least. But will it work? That's the million-dollar question.
And a lot depends on whether they can pull it off. Can they satisfy the hardcore Venom fans? The ones who've been there since the beginning.
Right, but also can they bring in the more casual fans, the ones who are there for the Spider-Man connection? It's a tough balance to strike.
It really is. But hey, that's what makes it interesting. It's like, in the world of superhero movies, you gotta take risks.
You do. Even if those risks don't always work out, at least you're keeping things exciting.
For sure. All right, so as we wait for Venom, The Last Dance, to hit theaters, the biggest question remains. Will it live up to the hype?
Right. Will it be the end of Venom's story as we know it? Or just the beginning of something even wilder?
Only time will tell. And that's it for this deep dive into Venom, The Last Dance. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have. From box office predictions to marketing mysteries to possible multiverse shenanigans. It's been quite a ride.
It has. But now we want to hear from you. What are your theories about Venom, The Last Dance? What do you think is really going on here? Let us know. We're dying to hear your thoughts. And until next time, remember, sometimes the most interesting answers are the ones we uncover ourselves. Happy watching.